Welcome, my friends, to the Buck Sexton Show. Joe Biden taking a victory lap yesterday because the Electoral College has certified his win. And we have to take stock of where we are right now in response to this. And I think that everyone needs to understand there's going to be a lot of frustration here. There's going to be a lot of agitation because, yes, we know there was fraud. Yes, we know that the Democrats stacked the deck in their favor with the elimination of anti-fraud safeguards using COVID-19 as an excuse. But the process is continuing on, and with each passing week now, it's favoring Joe Biden. That's just an objective reality that we're dealing with. Is there the possibility that there will be some last-minute case that something will come up that will be able to finally prove definitively that there was systematic and intentional fraud? The kind of proof that even a weak-willed, even a cowardly judge would have to say, for fear of shaming his profession or her profession, would have to say, yes, you're correct. This is fraud. We cannot certify the results in these states. Yes, it is possible. Is it likely? I think you all know the answer to that. Joe Biden now is feeling like he is inevitable, that this is over, this is done with. We can continue, you know that old you can walk and chew gum at the same time? We can continue to look for that fraud. We can dive into the Antrim County autopsy report from the voting machines, right? The deep dive that they did. I read it last night. I'm curious to see what's going to be done with it. I'm sure the DOJ is aware of it. I'm sure that this is being looked at. Now, being looked at is not the same thing as action taken on, but I believe that there are people who are going to read this thing and take a look at whether or not it changes the certification in a place like Michigan. But we have to look at that and also understand that Joe Biden is preparing for his administration at this point, and this is likely what we are going to face. And I understand there's going to be heat that I get for this. I understand that people don't want to hear this, but I always tell you that I will speak the truth to you as I see it, and I believe that this is the objective truth right now. It is a future. It is an issue of the future. It is a prediction in a sense, right? The future has not happened yet. To borrow from the Terminator films, the future is not yet set, but we need to understand what the reality of the numbers tells us right now and prepare accordingly, including making sure that we focus on the race right ahead of us here in Georgia, because a Biden administration with the House and the Senate in Democrat control is a very different thing than a Biden administration with divided Congress. With a divided Congress, they're going to have to prop up this really buffoonish, clownish, and yes, corrupt fellow and spend a tremendous amount of time and energy and resources just to make sure the American people don't see for themselves, this is the clown that we've elected? Really? This guy? Now, I know a lot of you would say you didn't elect him, but if he becomes president, then he is technically the guy. And so we look at this now and we say, what can we do in preparation? What can we do to get ready for this? Well, I can tell you this much. A lot of what they were saying about Trump will be true or would be true about a Biden administration. A lot of it would be accurate. For example, when they talked about state media under Trump, they would say this. They really would only say this as a knock on Fox News. And I was consistent in pointing out that state media would indicate that there's only really one acceptable media point of view. I mean, true state media, some places have a government, a kind of quasi-government or government organ, but usually if there's an actual state media apparatus, the opposition is at a minimum tiny, right? The opposition is small. In this country, we had the opposite. We had 95% of journos out there, 95% of them anti the administration, and they advanced their careers despite what they said, despite what Jim Acosta would pretend when he'd go to the White House, they were not doing the journalistic equivalent of storming the beaches of Normandy. They were advancing their careers. They were becoming more famous. They were fattening their paychecks. So in no way whatsoever, in no way do we see this now and have any reason to believe that Joe Biden will be anything other than absolutely coddled and propped up and assisted by the media. That's what's going to happen. And you're going to hear a lot of empty rhetoric from Biden himself, but also from the people around him, because this is going to be the most incredible emperor has no clothes situation you've ever seen. The emperor's too old, he's incompetent, and he's corrupt. But they're going to tell you that this is great. There's going to be this amazing restoration of America that happens. You know that's a fraud. You know that's not true. The amount of lies that you are likely to be told in the next 90 days alone will surpass anything you've ever seen before. Because now the media doesn't even really pretend. There's no objectivity. They picked a team. He's their team. This is what they're going to do. And here's what Biden was saying yesterday. And on the one hand, calling for unity, calling to bring us all together, and then trashing Trump. Play 18.
By his own standards, these numbers represented a clear victory then, and I respectfully suggest they do so now. If anyone didn't know before, they know now. What beats deep in the hearts of the American people is this: democracy, the right to be heard, to have your vote counted, to choose leaders of this nation, to govern ourselves. In America, politicians don't take power. People grant power to them. The flame of democracy was lit in this nation a long time ago. And we now know nothing, not even a pandemic or an abuse of power, can extinguish that flame.
Abuse of power. What was the abuse of power again? Bringing lawsuits? Something that they did endlessly and in bad faith against Trump to slow him down. But now the courts are bad. Understand that we are not only going into a post-journalism area with the Democrats, we're also going into a post-principle era. Whatever they don't like, whatever stands in their way, they'll just discard. They don't have to make any show of really caring what you think anymore. This is about the raw exercise of political power. They think they will have achieved it through this. And look at what they did to get here. Biden's talking about democracy and how beautiful a thing it is now because he likes the outcome for him as it stands so far. The rest of us stand around saying, you guys changed the rules in an election year by hyperventilating about and exaggerating about the threat of COVID-19 only as it pertains, of course, to voting in person, not to having BLM rallies in the streets, not to any number of other activities that are Democrat approved. But voting, no, that required enormous shifts in the actual mail-in balloting process and transforming the process in the year of the election and using it to the absolute maximum advantage. And I do at some level blame Republicans who are supposed to be the ones on guard against this, blocking this. I blame them for not doing more in advance, for not seeing this train coming down the tracks. Why do you think Pelosi and the other libs were going all out with the crazy post office conspiracy over the summer? So that's something that now we have to learn from, I hope, going forward, no matter what we end up finding out here about the fraud. I will continue to look at every allegation, every bit of evidence that is presented here by the Trump legal team, by anyone who comes forward and has proof of fraud. We owe that to the country, but we also need to be ready for what is coming now. And you are going to see an administration that has the full and open partisan backing of the social media companies, the entirety of the journalistic media apparatus in its pocket, big government and big business working hand in glove, not shedding any tears for the destruction, the wanton, reckless destruction of small businesses across the country as a result of these preposterous lockdowns. You're not going to see any tears over that. They like this advantage that they have. The eradication of small business is something that Democrats aren't particularly upset about either. Every business that's independently owned and operated is a little bit of a pushback against central planning. So they prefer that they just have Amazon and Google and these mega corporations calling all the shots and making sure they go in favor of the Democrats. And we're going to be up against an administration that has already shown us, again, assuming that this pathway continues, but we have to deal with the path that is before us. We're going to have an administration that is already compromised by China, our chief geopolitical rival. They lied about Russia collusion with Trump and pretended that Russia was a much greater threat than it was. But in fact, what they were saying about Russia is true of China. It has infiltrated our government apparatus. It has been stealing our most sensitive information and secrets for years. And it has compromised the would-be first family very directly and very obviously. So this is going to be an enormous challenge. I hope that no matter what President Trump and all of his chief advisors and supporters will come together and face this as one. But this is where we are. The Electoral College, it is now President-elect Biden as of now. I understand that you're going to tell me it's a fraud. And I share your sentiment. I share your outrage. But this is where we are now. I've been saying we trust the process. The process is not over, but we are taking stock of this today. We have our work cut out for us, friends. We have a Georgia election to win. We have judges that should be getting, at the last minute here, pushed through as many federal judges as possible. I don't know what the heck is going on with the Republicans thinking that they can take it easy. And we have to start to make the argument against what'll be a Biden administration that has a lot of support from very powerful people. And you will be told that what you know is not true and what you know isn't so. You got to relearn that part of it. Get ready for this, friends. We are in this together. We will eventually win. It's just a question of when.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.